uh, I'm sorry, there's a lot of, yep. So she has experience working with from FMCG to appliances, interior design, exhibition design to the user research part of it, right? So kind of a varied kind of experience, and she's very passionate about the education side of design as well. And she's also spent a lot of time on that over a kind of decade on that. And she's also with a lot of design schools, and also has been a very active visiting faculty as well, right? And so mostly her interest lies on the fundamentals of design theories and some of the representation kind of techniques, right? And the design methodology are some of the areas that she generally is more passionate about. And currently she's I mean, you guys should follow her on Insta and Facebook. She's exploring the calligraphy and various scripts, and some of her artworks have been selected in various international exhibitions in the US, Netherlands, and South Korea. Some of the, I mean, apart from the regular design stuff, I think she her hobbies are more towards this vocal classical music, obviously sketching and painting as well, right? And still, she has passion towards designing apparels and accessories as well. So here we have Rupali, so who's going to talk about more towards how this creativity kind of enables some of these young minds, right? So how do we try and ignite it, right? So I think everybody has that creative brain with us. So let's hear from Rupali herself. Over to you, Rupali.
Thank you so much, Dayan, for that introduction. I'm overwhelmed to listen to all that. And yes, first of all, Dayan, I would like to thank you and this initiative, basically, congratulate. I really appreciate this initiative.
Thank you.
Because even though we are all designers and we know how to be creative and we have been practicing creativity, still it happens, when we get stuck in our deadlines and our day-to-day routine, it happens that somehow we keep on doing the same things. And when you like some events like this, or just the conversations like this, when we listen to stories of others, it's definitely gives us a different way of thinking, a different it expands the horizon. So I really appreciate this, and with that I would just like to share my screen.
Yes, please.
Yeah, just let me know.
Yes, yeah, I think we're able to see your screen.
Yes. So it's about, like, this is what I am currently passionate about, as I have shared, and this is what I am working about. So I thought that let the theme be this, though I would take you through the journey, that how I reached at this particular passion, or this particular activities that I am carrying out currently. So initially when I was...
Just to stop you. So the previous screenshot is from which school?
This is Billabong High International School in Thane.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I thought, like, I know one of those kid over there. Okay,
Oh,
maybe I
is
just
it?
mistook. Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Yeah. So when Dayan approached me and he wanted me to share some of my experience, there were a lot of things, that I wanted to share. So I was thinking whether it should be my professional journey, or should it be, the journey as a design educator, that I have been exploring few things with students, or it should it be this journey, as Ryan mentions, that I learned vocal classical music, and that's me and my son performing. So in our annual recital. So it's not that I have achieved great heights in that, but I like exploring it, and it's so wonderful. So I could have talked about that as well. And then yes, my passion, creating artworks with calligraphy, exploring different things. But then I thought, because importance of this particular conversation today is about sharing things. So why not share my journey while as I explored the magic of design process. So everyone here is a designer and they apply design process. So I would just, but yet the journey, their own exploration, how they explored it, how they applied it, it all differs, and everyone has their own customized way of implementing it and executing it. So I thought that let me share this design process, how I explored, and then how what actually prompted me to take this design process to non-design community, and all the more to young children. So yes, that's what I feel is that in my case, it was first learning of this design process. When I'm saying this, I'm talking about the structured way, the way we apply it through various stages. Otherwise, as a child, we are explorers and we are exploring different things, though it might not be with that structured thought. So sometimes we start exploring, and in midway, if we don't get results, if we are not applying the process, we just leave it sometimes, not all the times, but it may happen. But then the formal education in design, we kind of learn that what is it under the guidance of the faculty, and then we start practicing it through our academic projects, through practical professional practice. And I started practicing it even when I started teaching it more, like you become even more responsible when you have to teach someone that thing. And of course, through various kind of art forms, I was exploring and practicing the design process. And then, to my surprise, actually, I was not as I would say extrovert as I am sharing all these things with you. And as Dayan mentioned, that recently I've been actively sharing on social media as well. That's because I have experienced this joy of sharing, and with this process of sharing with many people, your horizons, it just gets expanded, like and it boosts your creative process even further. So that's how I feel step by step journey of design process was for me. And then now I would like to take you through that, how this was my first exhibition where I participated. It was a group exhibition. So from sharing my ideas with a non-design community, how it led me to my current passion, where it's taking creative problem solving process to young children. So that's the journey I would like to share with you today. And let's start. So it's all started, as I mentioned, with when I decided that I want to participate in my first exhibition. And it was a group exhibition, and it was for women artists on the occasion of International Women's Day. And theme was calligraphy. That's it. Like, you can just explore whatever calligraphic explorations that you have, you can display it. Of course, you had to first submit, and if it gets selected, then it would get exhibited. So, but it's the design process thing has been so imbibed by the time we reach here. It was almost this was in 2017, yes, or 16, I believe. So it's always started with a process. So you can't just go with a random brief that only calligraphy. So I chose my own brief that I wanted to explore three dimensionality in calligraphy, with the kind of background that I have in three-dimensional spaces and forms. I wanted to just suppose this both things, three-dimensional aspect, exploring that in through letter forms. So I kind of started with the research, and these were my observations about what is it that very peculiar about calligraphy. So I observed that this change in thicknesses of the strokes is something that makes those letters graceful, and the kind of flow that you have in the strokes, and the contrast between the line weight that you see, as I mentioned, the thickness, and the relationship between uh, the strokes, alphabet strokes, and the context for which the message is communicating. So keeping this in mind, then I wanted to, sorry, explore some letter form and what that could be. I was thinking, and because I am inclined toward spiritual practices, and I really believe in Vedic sciences, so Om was something that I really wanted to explore. How could Om be represented in three-dimensional form? So that's how it started. So again, the research continued. I looked into what are the different interpretations of symbol Om. And one, I interpreted it as a flow. It's a continuous flow of positive energy. And it is omnipresent. So it is everywhere, where or not we see it or we feel it, it's there. It's just that it's up to our awareness. If we are aware, we can feel it. If not, then we don't. Then it is about harmony. It's the symbiotic relationship among all, and that's what one of the connotations of Om is. And purity, it is the purest form of energy. So with these four kind of interpretations, I started my explorations, and these were some of the initial sketches that I went through. And it was like, though it was not a client presentation, like for this exhibition, I just had to show my final output or my final artworks, and I had to exhibit that. Even for selection, I had to just send that. But as I mentioned, that while we are practicing design, the process gets so much imbibed that we cannot skip those in between steps. And then from sketches, I went with clay explorations. That's again, it wasn't very polished kind of explorations, just with play doh which was lying around. I tried few forms which I had already sketched, just to get more clarity about it. And then this is how finally I reached to various concepts, that was based on flow, that how a single stroke, with that varied thickness, can just go and show that symbol Om, and in three dimensions how it can be interpreted, or it could be seen. Then next was
So this was done in like a 3D tool or as a physical?
uh, uh, then the plan was to make it physical. So as the process I explained, I initially explored it with the 3D tool.
Okay,
Uh,
wonderful,
these are digital renderings. Yes,
cool.
I did this in Rhino. And then, when we say ubiquitous or it's omnipresent, I try to play with positive and negative spaces over here. So though these are, whatever should be positive is negative here, yet we interpret, and we know that this is the symbol Om. So that was one of the representation how I wanted to see it. Then the expanse, I wanted to communicate the expanse of this symbol, that it's everywhere, and how can we fit it in one frame, like it's everywhere. And then purity, I used sacred geometry and explored it through that. Then yes, the time was limited, and within that limited time I wanted to do that, explore this particular thing in in the physical exhibition, right? So we started with 3D printing. I bought a 3D printer, and it was a very basic kind of 3D printer. So that was the size limitation. So I just made it in different parts, and the whole process was really so intriguing. And there were lots of ups and downs, throughout. And in the end, as the deadline started approaching, I was in two minds now whether I'll be able to finish this, and that too because it was my first exhibition. I wanted to display at least 4 to 5 different artworks, and was not satisfied with displaying only one artwork. But this was very challenging and something that we had not tried before. So while this was going on, I thought that I might not be able to finish it in time, though I kept working on it. But I thought that my plan B should be ready, and that's how I thought that let me explore it in art form as well, in two-dimensional art. So that's how I came up with another theme to explore Om, because I wanted to have that continuation in my overall display in that exhibition. And because time was constrained, and I thought I would be able to uh, represent, or I would be able to display only one of my artwork, that too if I get it done within that timeline. So I started with this one. This was again taking some clues, like based on whatever research that I had already done. I thought that Om is omnipresent, and these natural elements, 5 basic elements that we say, are also omnipresent. So how would I represent Om, symbol Om, in all of these? If it is, I have to represent it through earth, how it would be, through water, how it would be. And then how can I represent this through calligraphic strokes? So uh, that's how it started, with a new series of paintings. And while I was exploring, I explored, and two different ways of exploration came up with two series of paintings. So one was where I just explored Om form through calligraphic strokes. And another one was based on exploring different mediums, tools, techniques, different surface textures. So watercolors, acrylic paints, strings, everything I tried and explored. And that's how the second series of painting came into being. So this was for the first theme, where I wanted to explore Om symbol through various, of course, different 5 elements, and just through calligraphic strokes. So this was the final outcome of that series, where that was my representation for water. Then that's wind, fire, earth, and space. So all these actually elements, there's this Gayatri mantra dedicated to each of these particular element. I try to incorporate that in the overall composition. So this was the series of 5 paintings where I explored 5 elements through calligraphic strokes. The next one was, these were the explorations where I mentioned that I tried exploring various tools, various mediums and techniques. And then this is how I resonated water with ripples. It's so magical that the ripple effect. And I tried to capture that ripple effect and represent Om through those ripples. Then that was for wind, different explorations. That's for fire. For earth, I did so many explorations. Somehow it was not resonating. These were very quick to arrive at the final, whatever I wanted to have. But for earth, I really explored. I did so many of different trial and errors. And that was for space. That this also was it like there were very few. Like I reached to this final thing in a quick period of time. And these were the exploration, and which led to this set of final paintings, where this was water, wind, fire, earth, and space. So that's how the whole journey started, with three-dimensional representation, and finally it ended up with a series of paintings. I had 10 paintings, and at least I was satisfied. My explorations with the three-dimensional 3D printing forms, and getting it done as a final mural was still going on. Yet I was not sure till the day of the exhibition but thankfully it came into being, and this is how it looked as the final painting. And then, yeah, this is how it was displayed at the final site of the exhibition on the first day. This whole space, and the effect and the outcome of the final, the whole process was so satisfying and so, I would say, so pleasing. And for myself, I mean, I never thought about that what would be people's reaction and how would they take this whole thing. But to me, exploring this whole process, the journey was so satisfying that I was all satisfied with that process itself. But whatever I got as the feedback from people was, like a bonus. Like, I had never expected that people, they were literally, they like amazed to see something like this, the three-dimensional form, and all age group people. Like, I saw that that sparkle in eyes of young children, and even the senior citizens, they all loved it so much. So the point here was to share this journey, was that design process gets reflected in everything that we do. It's not just gets limited to our professional practice. Whatever we do in our day-to-day things, in that also it gets reflected as we keep on practicing it. And then, while these are some of the pictures from how people, were so amazed to see these. And it was great interacting with people and explaining them the story, and asking or solving whatever queries that they had. So apart from the visitors, I also interacted, and obviously with the fellow, as I mentioned, that it was a group exhibition, and fellow participants, they were also really amazed to see the final result, and they wanted to know that what was the process and how you arrived at whatever artworks that you have shared here. So I interacted with them, and that's when I think first time I shared formally the design process with people who were not trained with design. Like, some of the participants were trained artists, but not all of them. And they were really, uh, what do I say? Like, they really liked it, the process that they followed, and the kind of story that it creates when you follow the process step by step, that research and then trial and errors, and that those kind of explorations. So they also wanted to explore and follow that similar process in the artworks that they would be doing after this particular exhibition. And I felt really overwhelmed with that kind of a response. So it created, or it impacted people, not only people who were appreciating and who were only looking at the artworks, but also with people who were into the creative process and who were into making these kind of artworks. And that inspired me to participate in even more exhibitions. So this was another exhibition where I explored the Malayalam script, and theme for this was I explored femininity through different words. And this was another exhibition where we explored Kerala, the culture of Kerala, through different art forms, again in calligraphy. So in the same one, I had came up with a series of jewelry pieces. Sorry. Yeah. And all these were again inspired from the Malayalam alphabets. So it was a wonderful experience. So as I mentioned, the more you get connected and more you share with people, your own creativity gets so boosted. So it's such an important act that we somehow tend to forget sometimes in our busy routines. So some of my artworks in these through like what I had already done, I sent it to international competitions and it got selected. This was the artwork that was displayed in California. This was in Netherlands. It was coincidentally on the symbol Om, and all my Om artworks, they were displayed, they were selected here and they were displayed here in Netherlands. And these were my artworks for South Korean exhibition. So the peace and harmony was the theme, and then I had explored various Indian scripts through calligraphy in various different typefaces and tried to compose them in artwork. So while I was exploring it through artworks, I was also parallelly working with design students and interactions with design students. So it was almost, it's now almost a decade that I have been interacting, and various courses, product design and interior and furniture design. So what I realized was I was very observant to and keen to understand that when the student come and join the design course, initially how they are thinking and how they are reacting and responding to various things, and as they go on implementing design process in their projects through their design assignments, you can see that transformation in them. And it was so amazing to observe that when they start using this, there's initial struggle. It was not easy even for me during my architecture, that undergraduate studies. It was not really easy, and it didn't come like this. It was a struggle because initially you are learning so many different skills along with the design process, and then when there's a time that you need to implement that in your design process or in your project, somehow uh, because you are not habituated to it, you forget to connect those dots, and some part of it gets reflected, some of it doesn't, and there are lots of up and downs while you are learning this. And I was observing this, but then I could see this drastic change in students and in all of us, actually, all who are in this design process, that we become more courageous. We don't get, like, if we don't know what the outcome would be, that doesn't stop us from exploring. We become open minded and we are open to learn to many ideas and explore many solutions for one single problem. Of course, we are trying to come up with a solution to a problem whatever we have taken, and it makes us optimists. They become more clear and focused about whatever they are doing. uh, and Students or people who are following design process, they become more collaborative, because it's not, we understand somehow that it's not about, individual expression. It's all about, like, it can be, the more you work together, the more uh, ideas you get, and more mature your thinking becomes. And of course, there are so many trials and errors throughout the process, so it makes us resilient as well. So while I was doing this, I observed that some of the students, they responded so well, quickly, to all this process, but not all. Some of them were struggling. So I tried reflecting on it. What is it that, some of them are, or even some of us, if like, that also made me think about my childhood. These things, we hardly get any opportunity to think about all these things. But this curiosity, it led me to think about that it all depends on how you are, growing up. While you're growing up, the roots are in the childhood. Why some can pick this thing quickly and some take a little time into it. So I reflected on my own childhood, how it was. So I always like trying new things and connecting the dots between various things. So I remember I was not like, I was in grade 5, I believe. So, almost 10 years old, when I used to love rangolis, drawing rangolis. And I generally, people or children of my age, they were not all of them were curious to do this, but I love doing it. but others who loved it, they would just follow it from the books or from wherever. But I always wanted to try my own design, and I wanted to do that with some theme. So I remember even in Diwali, when it was the day of Lakshmi Pujan, I would try to connect it with like the idol, Lakshmi idol or something like that. So I don't know how it came to my mind, but when I started reflecting, then I realized that yes, this is how I used to do it. And all people around me, they used to appreciate, and they used to appreciate the skill of doing it. Some of them could also appreciate the theme behind it, that I am doing it with some logic behind it and trying to connect the dots between different things. So it was all about learning and doing, and there was no fear of failure. You do, if it is not, like even for the rangoli, if it is not up to the mark, I would just scratch it and start all over again. So that was innate. I never felt that, oh my god, now again I'll have to do it. I had already spent almost half an hour, and again I'll be doing it. Why I am saying this, because now when I see this current generation, my niece, nephews, and my own son doing it, sometimes they get distracted, and they are like, how many times I have to do it again and again? I'm not going to do it again. So if you don't like it, then I won't do it. And I don't know, like it is there, but this is one thing which have to be there when you are exploring any creative process. Sorry. And then expressing through various mediums, as I said, that we never had, we had, I mean, ready-made toys, but we used to like make our own toys. Sometimes when there was not ball, we used to play lagori. I don't know how many of you know the game, but at those days it was a fascinating game, and we used to play it a lot. And we were not able to locate our ball, so how do we do that then? So we just picked few rags and made a ball, and we started playing that game. It never restricted me. So that's how it has been. And all these things, doing all these things in your childhood plays such an important role to keep that creative spirit alive, is what I discovered. And then these are what something, when there was an art assignment that you need to explore the collage. So our art teacher, he explained to us, like you take the old newspaper and take color papers, like tear it into small pieces, and through that you can create a collage. And then almost everyone, they explored their collage with color paper, either from newspaper or magazines, or they bought ready-made color papers and then they did it. But I wanted to try something else, and I remember I tried cotton. I tried to incorporate all different materials possible in that uh, artwork that I did, that assignment rather. It was not an artwork, it was a small assignment. And I remember I came up with, I used cotton, I used that maize strings that you get, everything, whatever possible. So idea here is to say that, when I reflected on my own childhood, and I thought that what is it that kept my creative spirit alive and made me more inclined towards this choice, or of design profession, or for that matter, trying many things and exploring different things. What is it that kept it alive? Because why I reflected on this was because not all students were responding to this particular activity in the similar way. So what is it in the childhood that makes it like this? So I am sure that all of you are also in, I know that you are designers, and something there must be that has kept your own creative thinking alive. And I would really love to know that. So it's not very interactive session. Had it been the physical session one to one, I would have then and then loved to listen to what is it, that what kept your creative thinking alive in your childhood. What was it that you were doing? But after I finish this, I would definitely like to know that from all of you. And then going ahead, I also observed my own son's childhood. And not only my son, I also keep seeing whatever my friends, like most of them are from design background. So I see how it becomes so innate because we ourselves have observed it. There's a lot of freedom to these children to explore new things and to explore various mediums. There are very few restrictions. Like I saw Monica's daughter, how she came up. She's 13 and now she is going to publish her own baking recipes book. So she has been, all this is possible just because, the kind of environment that she got. It was there. There were encouraging environment where Monica encouraged her to explore whatever she wanted to do. And then I keep seeing other like Ritu and Murli's son, the way they keep exploring. So again, it's like not all are fortunate, not all children are fortunate. They should be, but it's in your like at this process, your childhood, if you get that freedom to explore, that encouragement to express your thoughts using various mediums, that leads to keeping that creative thinking alive in you. So this is, he was six, and because Pankaj's influence, he kept seeing and he kept sketching and drawing, and on whatever surface, that doesn't matter. That's my mom's house, all paint. Like it used to get like this. And this is when he was six, no, not six, sorry, grade six. He was 11 years old then, when his story got published in a book, and it was available on Amazon for sale. And it was really the way he expressed, and the topic was a journey to happiness, and the way he was able to express his thoughts was amazing. I mean, just it's not that he goes to some kind of creative writing classes or any extra efforts that we put on it, but it's just giving him that freedom to think, to explore on his own, led him to come up with these things. And then during the lockdown, he came up with again trial and error, his own things. He came up with his own animation, small animation clips. He has no training into it. He just explored it on his own. So I would just like to play this one. I don't know if sound would be I don't know, is the
Yes,
sound
yes,
like
yes, yeah, we can hear it.
okay.
Rupali, I think we're not able to see the animation part. It's still the same slide.
Okay. I don't know then what could be done.
Hello, hope you're enjoying the.
Maybe you can share and unshare again. Is it from a separate video file or something?
It's on YouTube there.
Yeah, maybe you might have to share the entire screen.
Okay, right. I'm not sharing the entire screen.
Yep.
Okay, I'll do that. But do we have time, Dayan? Are we
Yeah, I
ready?
think we are good. We have 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, 15, 17 minutes. Yes.
I'll just share again.
Yep.
Is it visible now, Dayan?
Yes, we are good.
Thank you.
Hello, hope you enjoyed the video and the message in it. Also, it's quite challenging to take time out of my routine to make these videos. So I would really appreciate if you liked and subscribed. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Amy Killen. I've been using Doodly to create these really fun videos to share with prospective patients on social media, and it's super fun. I have to stop myself from using it too often because I really like it.
First thing I like about Doodly is the fact that it was
Okay, so yes, the point I wanted to make here is the more freedom children get and encouragement that they get, they're able to express themselves in a better way and keep their creative thinking alive. So uh, again, one more question to all of you, that how do you create opportunities for children around you to explore more? I'm sure that there would be children around you, and I would love to know that how you nurture them or create these kind of opportunities for them to explore them more. But sadly, when I saw that it's not everywhere, not every child gets this kind of freedom of exploration as they grow. And that's why some of them were, like in students, some of them were not able to cope with that particular thing, or they took a long time to respond to the design process well. So why this happens is because parents, they get trapped in the competitiveness. They want all of most of them, they want to be their children into IITs or into that in medical schools. So they want their children to focus on studies, and rest everything is just an additional activity for them. They're not aware about the importance of enabling children to think independently or take their own decisions. Like even small things, like, I don't know, it's not small, but by the time they are into their grade 11 and 12, ideally they should get their own clarity. If they have explored themselves well, they should get that clarity that what do they want to pursue as a career. But now when I see with my son and other children around, they are, very few of them are clear about what they want to do. That's because they are not able to think independently, and they have not explored themselves enough to understand that what do they want and what is it that they would like to pursue ahead. Then the importance of learning and doing, that is required in creative thinking, that learning and doing is not there. And parents somehow, or children are, they're into so much of instructional activities. Like first they go to schools, then they go to tuitions. All of this is very structured and instructional based kind of activities, and with that they hardly have any opportunity to do and learn and think like that. Another thing that I feel is, many of the parents, they see their children's art and craft, and they comment then and then that it's not that good. Your friends or other children do it much better than that. I don't know how they can give that kind of a feedback, and then children, they just stop doing that activity. And then we are here to say that not everyone is creative, and that they cannot express. So he's not into the creative thinking or in expressing creative things. First, we think most of them think that art, craft, music and dance is all about creativity. Rest other thing, you cannot express your creative thinking and creativity. And on top of that, they also stamp their children that you're not good in dance, you're not good in music, or not good in craft and art, and the child just leaves that. So I feel this is a serious problem, and we need to do something regarding this. And then again, challenges for children are that there are less opportunities for them to explore with the kind of schedule that they have. So because as I mentioned, the school hours, and then structured tuitions, and then again, even they play, many a times it is structured training that they do. There hardly any time for them to explore by themselves, and there's too much of competitive pressure all the time. and there's no opportunity for decision making. Most of the decisions are already made by their parents for them, or by teachers in the school. So how do they get habituated to it, and they don't have any opportunity to practice it. And of course now there are so many distractions which we never had, but with current new technology and new informative age, they get just lost in all this information. So I thought about that, how can I reflect, and I thought that I can create awareness among parents, and for that I am working on a book, soon it should be published. And I also work with children, school children. So just a few glimpses of some of my workshops that I've conducted. So I introduce them with a creative problem solving process and very simple task we take, because I believe that it has to be gradually increased as they keep on doing it again and again. Then only we can't start directly with a very complex kind of problem. So here they were working with their eating habits. How can they make their eating habits more healthier? And these were the problems that they identified, some of them, like he realized that if he is eating his favorite food, he cannot stop himself, and he starts eating enormous bites. So that was the problem, and then he identified it and came up with lots of solutions for that. Then she was one who said that it was uh, her eating is very slow because she gets distracted either by reading something or by watching something, and how then she can have many solutions to that particular problem. This was a girl who was who realized that she is not having enough water during the day. So she wanted to add some kind of uh, what joy in her drinking activity. So she came up with a very long kind of a straw, and then she said that I keep my bottle away, and from there I try and drink, and that makes my whole drinking activity so much fun that I really enjoy it. And then she said that I tasted it for a week, and I for that last week I have been drinking now optimum amount of water. Yeah. Then how to choose which problem is or which solution to go ahead with. So how they tested it and which was more effective. He talked about that. Another important thing is collaboration, which I feel is so innate in children, that they love to play with each other, they love to exchange ideas. So it's just that many a times with the competitive spirit, somehow it just gets toned down as we grow up. So that's what it gets promoted when they do these kind of things more. And
About it. I enjoyed the best the to listen to others' problems and others' solutions.
Oh my,
such beautiful thoughts they come up with, and that I had never expected them to speak something like this. And yes, they all loved it because these are interesting activities, not very instructional kind of activities that they otherwise do in other things. And in the end, yes.
Uh, Actually, I found class, this session very interesting and like helpful.
okay.
So I'll try to make like do this process again and again.
Great.
Like
That's really
practice this process. Actually,
So nice to hear that. And that's what, like, finally I conclude with what is my message here for all of you, is that explore. I know that you all are designers and you are exploring always, but even important than exploring is sharing it with a larger audience. Whatever you are doing, the more you share, the more you get ideas, and the more you grow. That is through my own journey. This is what I would like to share with all of you. because each one of us has unique experiences, and especially creative people like you have always been explorers. So please explore, share, and grow. Thank you very much. That's it, Diane.
Wow. Yep. Thanks, Rupali. That was a great presentation where you shared your entire journey and how you slowly pivoted towards the children and a lot of parenting advice as well. Thanks for sharing.
Yes.
Yeah, folks, if you have any questions, please do uh, punch in, or you can directly ask Rupali. So I have a couple of questions definitely. So the first thing I had was, uh, yeah, how come like from industrial design and more of a product design experience all your life, all of a sudden you came towards this calligraphy and typeface and typography. So how did you got into a from appliance to expression, right?
Yes.
So what is the pivot?
Yes. I would say that I had always been exploring it there. But as I mentioned that I was exploring even as as a child, or during my, like here in Maharashtra, we have these grade examinations, drawing examinations, and I was so drawn to these things, and there I got an opportunity to explore lettering and things that. So I was interested in it, but then as I mentioned that somehow we become so focused to 11th and 12th and then architecture, so and get so much busy with that studies and submissions and assignments, that this part was little on the back side. But then when I realized like I used to keep doing it only for myself. And as I think when I started doing freelance work, at that time actually I started getting some time for myself, and then it started again, and I learned calligraphy formally, and I started practicing it. So that's how it started.
Wonderful. Yep. So there's always we had a debate like almost like a for 4 5 months back. Your classmate Murli also had presented where he was talking about designers being a generalist versus designers being specialists, right? So what is your take on that?
uh, what I feel is, if you want to go deep in something or become the master in something, you need to be on one path and keep exploring that in depth. But people like me who have so many interests, I can't focus myself only on one thing. I can't imagine myself doing only product design all my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it depends on your inner passion, or what is it. I like exploring, as you mentioned, like calligraphy, typefaces. I like to stitch my own garments even today. I do stitch that sometimes whenever I get time.
Wow.
I like to interact with children. So it's not only that I teach at design schools. I also, some of my, to my friends, sons and their children, I take just calligraphy sessions or art sessions with them. So it, if you have to be, it depends on your own nature, however, like how it is. I can't imagine myself only doing product design all my life. So I'll keep exploring, and that's how I enjoy.
Got it. Yep, yep. So, any quick piece of advice for somebody who actually wants to get into this calligraphy, but they don't have any formal education, right? Or so, do we have to do a course, or can we just start exploring on their own? So,
uh,
any tips?
yes. What I feel is that you need to have, if you have a basic ability to a good grip and good hand for drawing or holding brush, a good command over holding brush or any tool, then certainly there are so many videos and tutorials available on online on YouTube. So people having that basic skill can watch the tutorials and explore on their own. But people, those who are not into the handwork, too much of handwork, for them I would definitely advise that they at least take the basic course. And because what happens when during the basic course, there's a certain way of handling it, but it's not similar for all of them. each one will have their own way of holding it, exerting that pressure. So once you are there with the mentor can observe how you are doing it and can give suggestions accordingly, the way you are doing it, which will not happen in the online course. So depending on what stage you are at, you can explore on your own or you can take the basic course.
Got it, got it. So your recommendation is more towards start exploring on the physical side, because one of our colleague, ex-colleague also, like he bought an iPad exclusively to try and explore on this calligraphy, because you have this pen and
Yes,
things like that, right?
yes. So if you have been doing that since your childhood, like exploring
Mhm.
new things with brush, then I think you on your own also you can learn it. It's not,
Got it.
because there are a lot of information available on YouTube. Earlier it was not like that. So that's why
Right.
physically you had to go and explore. But if you are not very confident about all this tool handling, then it's better that you take that basic training. It will save you some time. Otherwise, on your own also you can learn, but it will take you longer.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep. So I think we have almost past 5. One last question. Yeah, what are you up to next?
Sorry.
I mean, what are you up to next? I mean, now from product design to
Yes.
kids workshop and calligraphy. So anything that you're pursuing?
I think, yeah, it's about this creative problem solving process. I want to take it to as many children as possible,
Wonderful.
and thinking of scaling it to some extent. Still under the process, like I'm still figuring out how to take that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but there are already like this White Hat Junior and Byju's. They are exploring it at that scale. So
Mm-hmm.
not immediately to that scale, but certainly yes, I would like to scale this particular thing.
Wonderful, wonderful. So how do folks try and reach out to you? Like if somebody wants to attend your workshop for the kids, I mean, any coordinates or you have a website? Maybe that'll help the audience.
On my social media, I keep exploring. The website is still under construction. I am
Okay.
doing that. I'm working on it. But on social media, I keep posting about it, and people get in touch with that.
Wonderful. Yep. Yep. Awesome. Thanks a lot, Rupali. Thanks for spending time with us and sharing all your experience. I think it was a very wonderful session.
Great. Yes, thank you so much, Dayan, for inviting. It was a pleasure talking to all of you and addressing and sharing my journey. I hope you liked it and enjoyed it, and it was of some help to all of you.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank you, Rupali. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sharma.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful weekend and advance Diwali wishes to all.
Yes, thank you. Same to you, all of you. Please enjoy. Bye.
Yep. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.